want to read something from my uncle, my mom's oldest brother, who was able to be up here just before my mom passed, and then for a couple days afterwards. When my sister flew down to Tuscaloosa, Alabama to see our brother Dan just prior to his death, she said to me just before she left for home, "Now there's just two of us left." At that time, she looked and seemed to be fine, and I certainly did not think that she would be the one to go home to heaven before me. I, as well as Bob, Missy, and family, am deeply saddened at the loss of my sister, and as I sit at home trying to say something worthy of her, I can feel the tears welling up inside me. There is a page in my Bible where I have written down the names of those who have accepted Christ as their Savior. My sister's name was written there a number of years ago after she told me of her profession of faith. Knowing that she is now with the Lord is what is comforting to me and my wife Kathleen at the present time, and hopefully it is a comfort to those who are present at this service. We will see her again. I remember when my sister was born, and we lived at the time on Avery Avenue on Tipperary Hill. It wasn't long after she was born that I remember she had to go to the hospital for something serious. Thankfully, she wasn't there long. She was a quiet little girl with a great smile. As she grew, I'm sure that having two, at the time, rowdy older brothers was a bit much for her as a little girl. Donna was bashful and not one to seek being the center of attention. Much like our mom, I remember at one time when we lived on Firstler Road in Manoa, that she was cutting out paper dolls on the floor, and I guess I teased her a bit too much. The result was that she stuck me in the foot with the scissors. I immediately left her alone. She, like most quiet people, could only be pushed so far. When we were living in East Syracuse, and prior to my leaving for the Navy, I remember a young man coming to the door and asking if Donna was home, and I immediately said to him, "Not for you." Had I stayed home, she may never have gotten married. No one was worthy of her. She grew into a wonderful, loving young lady with a beautiful smile. She was a great deal like our mom in that she did not like to see people mistreated, regardless of who they were or where they came from. She was very proud of her children and grandchildren, and I believe they were the center of her life. Only the Lord knows why He chose to take my sister home to heaven at this time. She was a loving, friendly, kind, and beautiful sister with a wonderful heart for all. I loved her deeply, and shall miss her until we meet again in heaven. And my uncle asked me to read from the 23rd Psalm. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For Thou art with me. Thy rod and Thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table for me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Thank you, Uncle Bill. Firstly, Missy and I want to thank everyone for coming on behalf of our families and our mom's grandchildren as well. We'd like to thank all of you for your heartfelt words, either by phone call, texts, and yep, Facebook. Those words have helped steady our nerves, lift our spirits, and fill our hearts, knowing that all of you cared so much to take the time. I'd like to take a slightly different approach to my mom's eulogy. If you would indulge me, I'd like to ask you all to sit back and relax while I give my mom the thanks she deserves. It's okay. I'll allow you all to eavesdrop just this once. Hey, Mom. Missy and I are here with Mark and Wendy, Jenna, Jillian, Marky and Maria, and all of our and your closest friends and family. Missy and I would like to express our thanks to you. It's hard to know where to begin, so perhaps I'll just break it down for you a little bit. You showed us so much love in so many different ways, it boggles my mind when we take a moment to think about it. You not only showed us your love directly with hugs and kisses, you know, the traditional ways, but you also led by example in showing us how to enjoy the pleasures of life, how to treat others, and how to respect others, especially you. For example, some of the creature comforts you loved and passed on to us. Music. At as early an age as I can remember, we all listened to music together, especially on the weekends. I remember being intrigued by the song Amazing Grace back around 1970 or 71. We heard it on the radio. We didn't know who sang it, so we called the radio station over and over until we got the DJ to answer and tell us that it was Judy Collins. And we promptly went out and bought the 45. That's a small little vinyl record. On Saturdays, we would watch the Tom Jones Show, not only for his musical talent, but I also think that you liked how he looked in his tight bell-bottoms. Then there was the Sonny and Cher Show on Sunday nights. We liked them so much, we had to go see them at the State Fair in 1972 when they set all the attendance records at the time. It was so packed that you put me on your shoulders and Graham put Missy on her shoulders and held us up there for the full 45 minutes. That's love. That wasn't the end of our concerts together, though. That was just the beginning. We went to see Prince and Eric Clapton at the Carrier Dome, and you and Phil were going to see Elvis in Syracuse. But Elvis croaked on the toilet that week, and the concert never happened. And Phil angrily, perhaps foolishly, got his money back for the tickets, never knowing that eBay was a mere 18 years away, and he could have made a fortune. You loved food, almost all foods. Sometimes food didn't love you back, but that didn't stop you. I can still see you devouring a butter-slathered corn on the cob, raw potatoes with salt on them, almost anything. You were the reason why I love chicken livers and lima beans. I honestly don't know what Missy's problem is. Animals. From the time I got a puppy for my first birthday from your dad, Grandpa Spath, there were always pets in our house. Parakeets, fish, hamsters, cats, dogs. Even when Missy and I moved out, you still had cats. If one died, you'd say, "No more, I'm all done." And then in no time, you'd have another one. You definitely gave and received unconditional love to those little fur balls. Sports. You loved almost all sports, watching and playing. Even though Uncle Bill told us all how shy and quiet and girly you were, playing with paper dolls, you had no choice but to get involved in sports by having 3 brothers and no sisters. You often told me of playing not softball, but hardball with your brothers. In fact, when your throwing arm was questioned, you cocked your arm back with the ball in hand and accidentally knocked the tooth out of one of your brother's heads with the baseball. As Macy and I were growing up, you encouraged us to participate in sports, and we both played sports in school and in Little League Baseball, with you attending as many games as you could. We watched all the Olympics, the World Series, the Super Bowls every year. Eventually, when I was 21 and you were 38, we both played on the same Poorhouse West softball team together. That's how competitive and cool you were. I can honestly say I was never embarrassed to be around you. Comedy. You enjoyed comedy, both taking it in and being the source of it. You were a bit of a TV junkie, and that was one source of our laughter since we were little. I can still hear your irrepressible laughter with no volume control attached. When Cher called Sonny a horny toad on their variety show, you could not stop laughing and repeating that line for days. As for you being the source of our laughter, we would love it when you impersonated Hee-Haw's Minnie Pearl. Whenever she entered a room, you perfected her trademark, "Howdy!" to a T. We never got enough of that. But Phil had quite enough of it, I'm afraid. Missy and I talked with your Missy talked with your former coworker Gladys yesterday. She told of a little routine you both had at work when either of you would sneeze. Even though your desks were right next to each other, if Gladys sneezed, you would secretly call her extension, and when she answered, not knowing it was you on the line, you'd say, "God bless you, Gladys." And you would both laugh until tears came out of your eyes. And when you sneezed, forget about it. The building would shake. People would be like, "Donna, holy cow." And you'd just smile and say, "I can't help it." Somehow I think you could help it, but you were snickering inside at how funny you thought you were. I kind of get it, Mom, if you know what I mean. Sacrifice. You showed your love through sacrifice. From 1970 to 78, we struggled financially, either being on welfare or you working your tail off at Cook's department store in Western Lights to make ends meet. In 8th grade, I was in a concert band at school, and one of my bandmates was selling his snare drum. He wanted $35 at the time, and that was a lot of money for you. I fretted and agonized over asking you for the money for it because I knew you probably couldn't spare it. But when you found out that I wanted the drum, you hugged me and told me not to worry, and you came up with the money. Generosity. You were not only mine and Missy's moms, you were the mom of all of our friends. We had so many sleepovers over the years, and when we would go to Green Lakes on the weekend with you and Phil, you'd let us each bring a friend. You even let us bring friends when we rented a camp for the weekend at Sylvan Beach. The show must go on. I talked to Mike Sacco the other day, and he had told me that on rare occasions when he wasn't working for his dad,
a tornado warning?
And doing moving and landscaping, we were the only family that he was allowed to go places with because his parents liked and trusted you. Perseverance. In your own words, you had a rough start in life. After becoming a single mom at 23 with virtually no work experience, you finally got that job at Cook's department store, and we finally got off welfare. You studied, you got your GED, and then you got laid off from Cook's, unfortunately. You went to business school, and after 2 more retail gigs at Casual Mail and GNC, you landed your career job at Onondaga County Department of Social Services. I never saw you so happy as when you got that job. You were a committed, dedicated, loyal county employee. You rarely called in sick until you used many of your well-earned sick days and vacation days to take care of Phil when he got sick with cancer. After 26 years, you took a well-deserved retirement. You had a lot of plans for your golden years. I remember you telling me that you wanted to go to Scotland with your supervisor, Nancy, and you wanted to go on an Alaskan cruise. Unfortunately, those things never happened. I know we fought over the years, and for that I feel terrible. I never thought very deeply about why we argued. I know I came across as critical of you, and I know that I felt frustrated with you from time to time. I know now that I wanted you to chase your dreams the same as Missy and I chased ours. I didn't want you to give that up just because you were retired or you didn't have Phil to do those things with. I was angry that it appeared that you had quietly given up and you were slinking into the shadows, sad and alone. You deserved to treat yourself better than that. You earned it. I didn't know it at the time, but perhaps you were slowly losing your health. 2 years after you retired, I insisted that we go to your doctor and get referred to a neurologist. The signs were there that something was wrong. We couldn't have normal conversations with each other any longer, and you know how I love conversation. More of my selfish frustration. It turned out that you were in the early stages of Alzheimer's. It was what I had suspected and feared. So now I was going to be pushing you again in a different way. I didn't want you to submit to this disease. It didn't only affect you mentally, it started affecting your motor skills. Your gait was impaired until eventually you couldn't walk any longer. Your cognition continued to decline. A affecting your speech until you were silenced, if only verbally. But up until recently, your ever-present smile always shone brightly every time we came to visit you. That showed us you recognized us. Eventually, the smile and the recognition faded, and yet we still wondered, is she in there somewhere? I'd like to think yes, you were. And right up to the end, we were all there with you. That's the way we wanted it, because we worried that you were aware and we didn't want you to feel alone. All along this journey, you were so peaceful. Seeing your smile every time we visited you warmed our hearts, lifted our spirits, and if only for the moment, eased our pain. I think it was worse for Missy and me in the days leading up to your departure. Neither of us could sleep. We were agonizing over your comfort, if you had any fear, wondering where we were perhaps. Right by you in every way. We got Uncle Bill up here, the kids, and even some of our friends who knew and loved you. We tried to do what we thought you would like, just as you always did for us. You deserved that, Mom. Thanks for the talk, Mom. We'll do it again real soon. We love you.
ticket to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal. Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove. You got a fast car. I got a plan to get us out of here. Been working at the convenience store. Managed to save just a little bit of money. Won't have to drive too far. Just cross the border and into the city. You and I can both get jobs and finally see what it means to be living. See, my old man's got a problem. He live with the bottle, that's the way it is. He says his body's too old for working. His body's too young to look like his. My mama went off and left him. She wanted more from life than he could give. I said somebody's got to take care of him. So I quit school and that's what I did. You got a fast car. Is it fast enough so we can fly away? We gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live and die this way. So I remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast I felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. And I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone. You got a fast car. We go cruise and entertain ourselves. Still ain't got a job. Now work in the market as a checkout girl. I know things will get better. You'll find work and I'll get promoted. We'll move out of the shelter, buy a bigger house and live in the suburbs. So I remember when we were driving in your car. Speed so fast I felt like I was drunk. City lights lay out before us, and your arm felt nice wrapped around my shoulder. And I had a feeling that I belonged. I had a feeling I could be someone, be someone, be someone. You got a fast car. I got a job that pays all our bills. Instead of drinking late at the bar, see more your friends than you do your kids. I'd always hope for better. Thought maybe together you and me find it. I got no plans, I ain't going nowhere. Take your fast car and keep on driving. You got a fast car. Is it fast enough so you can fly away? You gotta make a decision. Leave tonight or live and die this way.